Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my man Victor Almanzar. What's up, baby?
My brother, thank you for having me, man.
Looking good, man.
Thank you. You too, man. Like the shirt, man.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm proud to be here, proud to be sitting with you. Thank you for inviting me, man.
Anytime, brother, and thank you for coming, man, because I know this is something like we always talk about offline, so we figured we'll bring it up front and talk about it, and possibly, try our best to tell our story. So I know I've known you since we were kids. We went to high school together.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I went in the military a year after you, and we were friends in the military. Even after the military, we remained friends. And tell me about your life before the military. Like, I know, before the military, but for those of us who don't know, if somebody were to ask, what was Victor like before the military?
Before the military, well, my whole life.
Wherever you want to start.
So I was born in the Dominican Republic, and I had a good childhood. I was a great student. I have an older brother and some siblings that, and two sisters. And, we had a great childhood. We played around. We had a lot of friends. And when I was 13 years old, around that age, my parents decided that they want to come and move to the United States for a better future for us. And I got to the United States when I was 13, and I landed in Queens, New York, Corona, Queens. And around that time in the 90s, 93, 94, was very, very infested with gangs. They had all the gangs that you could think of around that time. And within a year, less than a year, 6 months, 8 months, I changed from being a straight A student into being involved with gangs, cutting class and everything. That's why I always say that environment has it dictates a lot on who you are as a person. I'm a big advocate for that. Like, environment changes people, and it has a big role on their outcomes in life. So within 6 months, I was involved in gangs, and I was hanging out all the time and smoking weed. And not that weed is bad necessarily, but that's what I was doing. And at some point, my father saw where I was heading, and he transferred me to another school, which was called the International High School. And this school was people from, people that were from
different countries.
From
people
different countries, the international
here.
Community that came into the school. And by this time, I was already so much involved into the gang culture within that year and a half that I was in the United States, 2 years, that I didn't want to be in this school. And at the beginning, I wanted to fight. I wanted to get kicked out because that's what they told me. Simon, I don't know if you remember, he told me, if you get into one fight, you get kicked out. And I picked someone to fight, and he ended up being the brother of another friend of mine, so I didn't fight him. And then I started meeting a lot of cool people. I met you, and I met a lot of great people, and it kind of like reminded me of who I am in essence. That same school had an acting program. One of the classes was drama, and I thought it was to deal with my everyday drama, but it turned out to be drama as in acting. And the teacher liked what I did in class, and he signed me up to the creative arts team, youth theater, in at that time part of NYU. I went over there for an audition, and I liked the people I saw. Not for nothing, there was a lot of girls from all the boroughs, and I was like, yeah, this is where I'm spending my summers. So that was my introduction to acting in a way. Then, I continued to do that, and I continued to hang out in my neighborhood. And by the time I graduated high school and I started going to BMCC, Borough of Manhattan Community College, within a year of being there, I got into this big problem, this big situation, and I joined the Marines. And
so you joined the Marines to escape that problem, or you joined the Marines to escape other problems? Just so happened at that time you said, okay, now it's time to go.
Well, there was a lot of things that was happening. My mother was very sick. She had a surgery, so she almost died. Around the same time, that was basically I got into a big problem that I had to deal with.
Whatever it was.
You
just had.
It was a big problem where I feared for my life.
Yeah.
I honestly feared losing my life, and I didn't know what to do. And one of the few things that we got as minorities in this country is the military. and then they sell you these other big dreams that, you know, not even 1% to 5% of the people in the country get to accomplish, which is, you know, being a superstar and being an athlete and all this stuff. One of the easiest ones was the military, and I happened to join the Marines because it was the toughest. And me being young and 19 and was involved in gangs, I'm gonna pick the toughest one. So I joined the Marines, and that was before 9/11. And soon after me joining the Marines, 9/11 happened.
All right. So how long did it take you to join the Marines from the time that happened to whatever you said happened that you felt you had to get away from to the day that you stepped foot in Paris Island to join the Marines?
So for me, it took a week.
A week.
So I talked to my recruiter, my recruiter, and I told him, listen, I need to get out. So he went and helped me pass the test. Basically, I used to smoke a lot of weed around that time. So he gave me this thing to help me pass the piss test and everything. And then I met him right before Christmas. I told my family in Christmas, listen, I'm about to join the Marines. So I spent Christmas with my family. And then I had this second thought. So I don't know if I should do this. And I called him and he told me, listen, if you don't go, your government record is gonna be messed up for life. So basically, he lied to me because that's not true. So I ended up going within a week. I met him on a Friday. By next Friday, I was going, and I spent New Year's in boot camp.
New Year's in boot. So what do you say was boot camp what you expected? Marine Corps boot camp?
No, it wasn't what I expected, but I didn't have any expectations. I had a friend of ours that joined the Marines before me, and he had told me what the Marines were like, and we had said like, if you join, I join. But, you know, I wasn't really trying to join the military until something happened that I needed to join. So he had told me something to expect, but I wasn't really in that mindset. So I went with an open mind, and boot camp at the beginning hit me like a ton of bricks on my face. Bang! Like I got there, I missed orientation. I got there a week late to the platoon that I was assigned to. And so I missed the sir, no sir, sir, yes sir, and all that stuff that you're supposed to learn, how to address a drill instructor. And when I got to the squad bay, I have all these drill instructors, because they're still assigning them, running up to me. He's like, listen, recruit, what's your name? Like, oh, my name is like, what? What is this? Like, I didn't know I was supposed to address myself as a third person. Yeah. And then there was this drill instructor. I'm short, and this guy was shorter than me. This guy was like 5'4" or something like that. He came in my face like this, barking, literally barking, and I couldn't hold it. And I was looking at him, and I was like, I started laughing. Oh, you think it's funny? You think it's funny? Push. And our friend had told me that they like to see that you tough in the Marines, in boot camp. They like to see that you tough and that you are able to fight whenever like they want you to fight. So when they say push, there were recruits running all over the place. This recruit was running by me, and I pushed the hell out of him. Boof! And he went flying. And the drill instructor got me, no, push! And he threw me in the ground because I was so confused. I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know what it was.
Yeah, so I started like doing push-ups. And so yeah, like at the beginning, it was very chaotic and not fun at all. Yeah. But I picked up quick. I picked up quick. Yeah. I enjoyed boot camp. I honestly did. And I feel like boot camp was more like mentally challenging than physically challenging. Yeah. And if you pick up on that and know that they wanna like trip you up and they wanna make you feel like you're not gonna accomplish something just to see how strong you are.
It's the
exactly.
Challenge. Yeah.
So I picked up on that quick, and I ended up being the first squad leader for a while.
Yeah. Same here. My experience in boot camp wasn't as intense because I didn't, I got in at the right time. But I was also promoted in boot camp. So I was one of like the four, how they get the 4 squad leaders and promote them. So I was second squad leader, and I ended up getting promoted.
Nice.
So now you leave boot camp. What happens? Will you go back home?
So yeah, I came back home for a little bit to do recruiting duty. And I had fun. They took me back to our school. Yeah. And I had these tight pants that I wasn't used to because, around that time, there was, the style was baggy clothes. Yeah. So I was all uncomfortable, And
so what happened to what you said you were trying to escape, which is the reason you joined the Marines? So what happened
I was
to that?
here quick.
Did you worry about it after
I was worried, but I felt like I had backup in a way. You know, I don't know how serious that was. Obviously, it was, and now knowing, you know, if someone wants to walk up on me
And do something.
yeah, at a recruiting station, I don't have an M16 with me. I don't have nothing with me. They could do anything they want to do.
So-
but you know, but I felt like comfortable because I wasn't hanging out with the people or seeing the people that was involved in that problem.
Yeah.
So I was just doing my recruiting duty, going to the school, coming back and talking to people around Queens Center Mall, and then it was only like 15 days, 20 days, and then I was back into MCT, Marine Corps Combat Training.
MCT. After MCT, obviously, you go to MOS school and then you hit the fleet. Talk to me about the fleet.
Well, the fleet, you know, I experienced a lot of racism in the military, and coming to this country, as far as people tell me speak English, and people telling me, like, you know, when I'm trying to speak in my accent is strong, telling me I don't belong to this country, go back to your country, and all this stuff. So I experienced all that kind of racism. I didn't even know how to place it around that time. I experienced discrimination.
And you're saying this in the military? Like,
No, not yet.
Oh,
I had experienced that
yeah.
before the military. But then once I got to the fleet, I remember my first week, at the end of my first week in the fleet, this is a story that I might have in a new film that I'm writing, or I'm also writing a story about my life. I told you about this a little bit. But on the second week in the fleet, I remember we had a day that we didn't have much to do. So they call it, like, you know, like knowledge day. So we're going to go to the rec room and teach each other. So they picked me to teach misfire procedures for the cannons. I was an 0811, which is a cannoneer, heavy artillery. And I knew this inside and out. I knew this stuff, like, I not for nothing, I like the military drills. I like the military state of mind. I like
military life, yeah.
But that wasn't for me, but I liked the drilling of it. So, and I learned this so well, so I started teaching these classes. I'm teaching this class. I saw this Lance Corporal. I was a PFC at the time, private first class. And I see him talking and having fun with someone else. And I remember the first 2 days here, whenever he was teaching something or he was talking about something, he wanted people to pay attention to what he was saying, and he would yell at people and everything. And he kept talking. He was right in front. And, you know, I left him alone. I kept teaching the class. And at the end, I said, you know, this is something that you guys might want to be knowledgeable of, because if one day we go to war, you know, you don't want to be caught up not knowing what to do. And you can be ignorant to this, like, and I'm going to say his name.
You have to pay. No, don't say
No, I'm going to say his name. Because he said it and I experienced it. He should deal with it like I dealt with it, right? So I said, like, you should be, you can be ignorant to this, like Kerr. That was his last name. Lance Corporal Kerr. And he, like, snapped out of it, and he goes, like, what you said? You speak? That was the first time that I experienced it, like, full blown in my face, you know? Me, myself. I know of people that had experienced it.
And this was in boot camp, MCT, you said?
No. This was already
in the fleet?
Yes, on my first duty station.
Yeah.
So I know of people that had experienced racism, and I know the things that I have done, like when I was there for it. But this is the first time that I had experienced it addressed to me,
like directly,
and like in full blown like that. So he called me a spick, and I was like, I took like oh, did I hear this right? And I was like, what did you say? And he said, you heard me. Can I curse?
No.
So you heard me, you effing spick. And he said it again. And when I looked at him, he was so serious. And everything was like slow motion.
Yeah.
I saw everybody's faces. I looked around everybody's faces. And when I got to the door, there was this corporal that was such a racist corporal, taking out his fake tooth and putting it back in and smiling. And I snapped. There was a little coffee table in front of me. I kicked it and hit him in his knees. He tried to kick it back. I caught it again, kicked it again, hit him in his knee again, tried to pick it up, come and hit me with the table. He was big white dude. But, you know, I'm from New York, and I got involved with the things I got involved with. So I ran towards him and kicked him in the table. But since he was so big, I also fell. He fell. But then I got up quick and hit him several times in his face. Then they grabbed me. They threw me behind this big screen TV. And I was yelling. I was enraged. I was like, yo, I'm going to F you up. I'm going to F you up. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you know. And then my boy from Little Rock, he was a blood before he joined the military. He was like, "Oh,
You telling everybody. You're like, yo.
he goes like, oh, on the real stern, he hit him with a thunder biscuit, dog. He hit him with a 2-piece in a bucket." So that was my first experience with racism in the fleet while I was in my first duty station. And then they threatened to press charges, but I had studied the Equal Opportunity Rights, the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. And I knew racism was tolerated. So when they came up to me, I was like, listen, if you want to press charges, go ahead. I'm going to request mats, and I'm going to press charges against you. And I hit them with an affidavit. You know what it was supposed to, I mean, not the affidavit, but the appendix B section, whatever. And they were like, oh, this guy knows this stuff. So they left it alone. That's why, listen, I handle things like I handle things. I had to lump you up. If we leave it like that, it's cool. If you want to go that route, we could go that route.
Now, did you ever have to work with him again?
Of course, yeah. He was new in the unit. I was new in the unit. And that conduct was acceptable to everybody when I got there.
What conduct? What do you mean?
Saying racist stuff all the time. The N-word was spat out all the time by white dudes. You know what I'm saying? And like people wouldn't say nothing. And I would tell my friends, yo, my man, you're going to let him say that? Even if he's playing around, even if he's acting like he's playing around, that's not correct. That's not right. They knew not to say nothing to me neither or in front of me because I was passed out. Like I wasn't with that at all.
And it's crazy you described that kind of culture. And you heard recently the Marine Corps has removed the Confederate flag from all Marine Corps bases, from not only the flag, but anything that has the logo on it, from cups to T-shirts and license plates and so on. How do you feel about that? Do you feel the Marine Corps is making a step toward the right direction in terms of having everyone feel included?
I think so. I think so. I didn't know that, but now that you say that, I'm glad that happened because that gave a lot of people, when I was in, like a permit to behave a certain way against people of color. You know what I'm saying? They would say things and they would behave like this, and like they would have the flags on their trucks, and that would give them permission to be who they wanted to be.
Did that ever make you feel a certain way, seeing the flag on base?
Again, like that was I didn't know so much about the history of America to that depth. I knew about it from going to school and like from high school and the books that I read. And I read a lot about Frederick Douglass. That was like one of the books that I was like, that blew my mind when I was in high school. Like I was like, wow, like the way he wrote his autobiography. And but I didn't know so much about the Confederacy and like I knew about it, but I didn't know how strong that culture was until I got into the military, and I saw it all over me, and I saw what sense of pride it gave them, in thinking like the South lost, but we still, it's okay to be racist.
To us. And which is crazy because think about it, the South, the Confederates went to war with the United States of America. Now we have their flags on base, we have their statues on base, we have military bases named after Confederate generals, which to me never really made sense. You know what I'm saying? But now that the Marine Corps has removed it, I believe the Navy is removing it, and last I saw, the Army was looking to get it removed. And do you think that's moving America forward as far as the military, or you think it's just like, okay, because of what's going on in the civilian world, let me just act like this is not happening? The reason why I asked that is because obviously, there was a time where blacks couldn't serve in the military, and then they moved it to, okay, you can serve in the military, but you have to go to a separate boot camp. And then they go, okay, you can come to our boot camp, but these things were still going on, like the Confederate, like the people, the good old boy, the cliques. Do you think all of it is being done as a form of like moving forward, or is just okay, well, just to calm things down?
I mean, things are tough. Things are hard to completely remove because people are growing up with who they grow up, and if their parents and their the childhood friends or their neighbors, the neighborhoods, or the people they grew up with are instilling these values into these kids joining the military, we're still gonna have the problem. But I think, removing these things helps.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I
like,
definitely think the
it's
Marine
something
Corps.
that you don't see every day in your face. That it doesn't remind you of this thing. So it's that saying out of mind, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So at least it helps in that way.
And I tell you, as a black person, obviously, and to know like you serving in the military, this flag is flowing over you. Let's say I'm 5 minutes late to a formation, which I try my hardest to not be. I'm 5 minutes late to a formation, and the person who is above me, who is going to punish me for being 5 minutes late, is a person who believes in the Confederate flag. Then I go into his office, he has this huge Confederate flag behind him. Automatically, I'm thinking, am I going to get a harsher punishment because I'm black for being 5 minutes late, as opposed to if the person didn't believe in that? So removing that flag, to me, I think is a great relief for a lot of people of color, because we don't want to come into work and have to deal with something that said, okay, you are not a full man, you're 3/5 of a man. Of a man. Okay, you will never be free. You're a slave, or your great grandparents were all slaves. Like I think that plays a trick with your mind.
Yeah.
I know it did for me. I know. First time I saw it, I think I told my buddy, was in boot camp. I saw a license plate with it. Automatically, it did something to me. You know, it made me wonder, like, why am I? You know, why are we wearing the same uniform? Why am I wearing the same uniform as this guy, but he's flying a flag that does not represent me in the best way? You know what I'm saying? That tells me that he's telling me that he's more of a human than I am. So
Yeah.
it always played with my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with you
So-
100%.
so-
Yeah.
Now that we're on the topic, before we get into, so after the military, so what happens? You did how many years in the military?
I did 4 years in the military, and like I said before, 9/11 happened while I was in, and I didn't join to go to war. I got joined to get out of trouble, and I find more trouble, like bigger, like that's real gang trouble, you know.
And I think there was a time right before the war broke out. I was at MCT, and I remember talking to you, whether on the phone the day before or wherever it was. I remember talking to you. I don't know if it was a day before or 2 days before, and you were going to, where were you going?
I was already deployed, right, when we were speaking.
Yeah.
And I have done the NATO missions already. You mean right before the war?
Because you told me you were going, because when it got announced, I'll tell you what happened. I remember we were at MCT, and the captain called the whole battalion together, sit in Hill Bend. So we all sitting there. Captain comes out and gives you that speech, every 15 years, these things happen, and you guys know, like, up, like, this is your call, and you're joining at a good time. For those of us who, this is what we joined for, to defend our nation right now. This was right before Bush, President Bush at the time, announced, like, Saddam stepped down. If you don't, we attack him. And then we were talking, and you told me you were going to Africa. That's what they told you were going? Or what happened?
No. I knew where I was going. When Bush gave Saddam the 10 days to leave the country or we're gonna invade, we were already around the area, and our general, MU commander, gathered us together just like that, and he volunteered our unit because we had done a bunch of NATO missions, and we have broken a bunch of records around the area, and they kept us doing these training missions in Africa and Saudi Arabia and all these things, and they had extended us another month before they said we would come into the United States. But I think they knew what was coming in the near future. So they called us in and they told us that we were going into Iraq. So so when we spoke, I might have just been coming from Africa, from this area called Djibouti, and that's what we do, like a lot of training missions.
Because I remember, obviously we spoke because I went in open contract, and you told me not to do artillery.
Yes.
So that was during a time in my process, and then you called me out of nowhere. You were like, "Yo," and I started telling you, like, "Yeah, I'm going to Africa, this and that." And then,
so it was probably a little bit before
Probably.
Iraq happened. But right after Africa, that's when Bush gave Saddam the 10 days, and then they called us into this formation, and they told us we were going into Iraq. We were the very, very first wave that went into Iraq. That was our unit.
Talk to me about Iraq without too much,
All right.
Enough information to know
what you're saying. Yeah. So right before the 10-day hit, we were in Kuwait waiting. The 10th day hit, we got the speech from our staff sergeants: don't wait for us to tell you to start shooting, wait for us to tell you to stop shooting. You know, look around you, not everybody's gonna make it home. That was the speech, and that's when we knew it was real.
And how old were you at this time?
I believe I joined when I was 19. I think I was 22.
22.
This time.
All right.
Or 21, 22.
Okay.
You know, still like a young adult, you know, basically
20
barely over being a teen.
Yeah.
So that's when, you know, that's the speech we heard right before we got into this big, long convoy, and we headed into Iraq.
Yeah.
We got into Iraq, and, you know, Iraq was very, it was war, and I'd only seen this in TV, and, you know, and I've done my share on the NATO missions that I did, but it wasn't like this, like, and, you know, within the first, let's say, 10, 15, 20 miles into Iraq, inside of Iraq, one of the Humvees got blown out by an RPG. We continue.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then, you know, all these battles started happening with like tanks, heavy artillery cannons got set up, and rounds were sent down range, and cities were, you know, leveled and everything. After that happened, then we set up, our unit set up inside of a radio station, which we took over, and then we started doing patrols and started doing stops. What is it called when you stopping people in the street? Checkpoints.
Checkpoint.
And we started confiscating weapons. You know, you see the bodies, you see things that no young
person should see.
Not anybody in the world should see. Like, you know, bodies, and not just pretty looking bodies, just, you know. And you know, a lot of things happen. I developed friendships with some Iraqi people. And I developed friendships with kids because, you know, they told us not to give them food, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't just walk around and see kids that are hungry, and, you know. And yeah, I gave them food, I gave them water, and then I was told not to, like by, you know, several people, like very strictly not to do that. But I continued to do that several times.
How long were you in Iraq for?
I was there for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and then it became Operation Enduring Freedom. So, you know.
Enduring was...
No, it became... Well, I was there because the war
and then
only lasted like a week
Afghanistan.
and a half. Yeah. Well, Operation Iraqi Freedom was like the war, what they call the war aspects of it, the shooting and the fighting back and forth, and then until Saddam gets caught. And then it became Operation Enduring Freedom. So after Operation Iraqi Freedom, we freed the people, and then it shifted while I was there into Enduring Freedom. So, and then I came back to you know, kind of the June.
How long would you say you were in Iraq for?
I would like to say like a couple of months, something like that.
So you get back to Lejeune, what happened?
I got fapped out to a different unit, to train a different unit, and they asked me if I wanted to go back, you know, to war, either to Afghanistan or Iraq. That wasn't for me. I joined for a specific reason. They were offering me $30,000 plus another rank if I was gonna rejoin, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to get out, but I did help train another unit. Like, I was, not for nothing, I was a very good Marine, very good Marine.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, and you know, I got a lot of awards and a lot of things for the things that I did, both during the NATO mission times and in Iraq too. And so I trained the people that were under me, because they were younger than me. The kids that I had to train, and I didn't feel right. You know, like, wow, these kids are gonna head out there and they are brand new. They are being trained to go to war. At least I had time to develop my skills. So, you know, I spent the time to bond with them and train them, and, like, you know, I had a good time with them. And then they headed out to Iraq, I believe. One of them that I became really cool with died while he was out there. So, you know, an improvised explosive device exploded, and his legs got chopped off, and he died from shock. That's from what I'm hearing, that happened. Wow. And forever he's gonna be young, the same age.
Yeah, that's it. That's where.